call to order the Etna Township.
Turn your mic on.
Sorry, thank you. I call to order the Etna Township Board of Trustees regular meeting here on Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024 at 6 p.m. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans.
Here.
Mr. Burkholder.
Here.
Miss McKee.
Here.
We'll now have the invocation by Mr. Aaron Young. If you please come to the podium.
Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Blessed are you, Lord our God, creator of heaven and earth and all that in them is, who gives the Torah of truth and the gospel of salvation to your people Israel and to all peoples through your Son Yeshua, our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Forgive us, Heavenly Father, where we err out of the way, where our words are stout against each other, they're only stout against you, and where we forgive each other, we know thou forgivest us. We pray you, Lord, as Israel, according to thy word and law and prophets, put a king between thee and we, so have we also as a nation. Therefore be with these, Lord, in the matter of judgment and justice, for they do not judge for man but for you. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven, and may your gospel and joy of your salvation be upon the people within these walls and all without the community. In our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, we do pray. Amen.
Amen. And I'd just like to ask for a moment of silence for Mark Altier, who's with the prosecutor's office. He lost his battle with cancer. He's worked with us, and many of us know him. So this moment of silence in his honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
I'll second. Discussion. Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Evans.
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder.
Yes.
Miss McKee.
Yes.
Agenda is adopted. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes from the June 4th, 2024?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Evans. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. McKee seconds. Any discussion, comments on the minutes?
Yes, there were a few changes I had forwarded to the board and the secretary. Here we go. On the adoption of meeting minutes, it doesn't have the original motion to adopt. We did table it, so that needs to be put in there with Ms. McKee motioning to adopt and Mr. Burkholder seconding. It's got the tabling motion, but missing that. And I forwarded the PDF with these markups. Reports, road department, as Mr. Strausser. Strausser is a company name, so that just has to be removed. Under road department 2, before the zoning on the same page, mentions downloaded the chips. It should just be information, and send them. It should be data to the sheriff's office for clarity. And then regarding the executive session, as motion to enter executive session at 8:20 p.m. per, that's got the entire ORC G1. I believe the proper thing is to do what was motioned and the sections motioned, so it should just be to consider the employment of a public employee and complaints against a public official, not that all the other verbiage. And that's all I've got.
Would you like to move to amend then with those corrections?
Correct.
And I'll second that amendment. Let's have a roll call, please, on the corrections to the minutes as presented.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
No. And then any further discussion on the main motion to adopt the minutes as corrected? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
No. Minutes are adopted. Now's the time for public comments. If anyone would like to speak, you have 3 minutes. Please come to the podium, state your name and address, and please direct your comments to the board. Is there anyone that would like to speak at this time?
John Hanson, 51 Ridgewood Drive. I believe we should ask some big questions about leadership and the ongoing cultural destruction of the township. One question is, why can't Evans, Burkholder, Cabal hire employees? For the administrator, the popular theme among the public is Trustee Burkholder wants to be the administrator. He applied on February 7th, 2022, and since then, Trustee Evans has interfered with every applicant desperate to keep the position open for Gary. Trustee Evans' attack on Singleton arose from Trustee Evans taking over Laura's desk and computer and looking for records to discern who the new applicant, the smear, was. Reading the transcript is much more informative than watching the boring 39 minutes of Trustee Evans talking to himself. What we have is sending Trustee Burkholder out to look for administrators, like sending Dick Cheney out to look for a vice president. Gary wants the job he can't be voted out of. This comes from citizens I speak with daily. It's not just my theory. It makes sense after leaving 2 other jobs without explanation to the voters because of an NDA and being rejected twice by voters. Trustee Burkholder only knows how to spend and hire people from the Cincinnati and Dayton area. Apparently his old gang, getting the old band back together. Are there no attorneys or consultants in the Columbus, Newark market area? And like the cartoon says, could you hand me that? Sure. Trustee Evans, like the cartoon says, we are running the whole $10 million a year operations with attorneys and consultants, and not well. Here's a political cartoon I created. It says, is that your township checkbook in your pocket, boys, or are you just happy to see us? It's an old joke, but it's very applicable here. Every little decision gets run by attorneys or consultants. Apparently you're hiring 1 employee now after 7 months. Trustee Evans brags about his vast experience, but the public records indicate otherwise. There's nothing to brag about. He has only moved forward by tearing down. Putting Trustee Evans in charge of anything financial is like appointing Michael Vick as head of the Licking County Humane Society. According to Trustee Evans' own math, he works for $8 an hour for the township. He boasts 60 to 80 hours a week at $24,000 a year. At 3,000 hours, that's $8 an hour to run a $10 million organization.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Yet he could not even run his own small company. I already mentioned the PRRs. In 7 months, no employees. Maybe the employees ruined the plan, as Evans reportedly had told someone, to torture and investigate them for 3 months and then to fire them. We should ask some big questions about leadership. Sorry. Trustee Evans has driven away everyone who disagrees with him. John Singleton, Laura Brown, Nita Hansen. It seems like people understand that the requirement to work here, one problem you're having, the requirement to work here is you must bow and kiss the rings of Evans and Burkholder. And that there is little chance of success with a rather large Trustee Evans on your back. Do you think that is why we have no employees? Thank you. I'll post this up on the website, which is not ready yet. It'll be at today.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak tonight? Please come to the podium and state your name and address.
Letitia McIntyre, 15 3rd Avenue, Etna. First, just a follow-up. I'd like to thank the trustees for letting us have our event in the park and also to use the town hall. And it was hot. So there weren't a lot of people there, but we appreciate the opportunity again. Also, some people have come to me with a concern down the road, not from Mayflower, but just neighbors, about there is a house that used to be there with a pool on the left side if you're going west, and just how it is very unkept. The lawn is literally up to here. The pool looks unkept. They're running some kind of store out of there. I was questioned. People asked me what the zoning for that was. I said I didn't know. I did refer them to the Township Hall, but they did ask if I could bring it to attention, because I know I told them the situation that's going on with the zoning inspector and everything, and that we're trying to get to everything as soon as possible, but it may just need to be looked at. Also, there's signage to make sure that it is in the right, setback. And so it's just a concern I've been hearing, not just from one person, but many that come to me knowing I'm on the zoning board. So I'm just presenting it that maybe someone can look into it just to make sure everything's up to par.
Do you know what road that's on?
It's right on 40.
On 40.
It's right across from the Wagram Center. Used to be a house. It's right beside, Sunburst Pools. It's right next to Sunburst Pools, right before you get to it. It's a real nice house. It used to be a nice house with the pool and everything. I think.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
And that has fallen into disrepair. It had a stockade fence around it, correct?
Yes, it did.
Yes.
So there's a lot of the people in the community that is really concerned, especially with just the lack of upkeep, because the people who owned it before kept that land pristine and it was beautiful. Now it's used for commercial and everything, and so we don't know who owns it. Okay, that's it for me.
Thanks for bringing that to our attention. Is there anyone else who would like to speak at this time? Please come forward. If there's no one else, then you will have an opportunity at the end of the meeting for 2 minutes of comments. So we will move on the agenda now to the road department. The Pike Street Morpsey update. I have been in conversations with Mr. Bill Lozier, who is our TID administrator for the county. That's the Transportation Improvement District. I'm going to be talking to Mr. Lozier. In fact, I left him a message today, probably tomorrow. I wanted the board to know to talk about the pre-screening application that we may be required. I think we probably will be within the next few days. I know we've already voted as a board to move forward with an application for additional funding for the 550 feet that the Pike Street reconstruction is going to be short of the property line of the High Point development. And that's the terminus of the project. It'll stop at that property line as of now. I'll be happy to answer any questions. We also had MKSK on that call regarding the lighting, the cost estimates on the additional lighting. And we're probably looking at somewhere between 1.1 and 1.2 million additional funding. That's an estimate at this time, and then the township would be responsible for 20% of that. But I'll be happy to answer any questions the board might have on that project.
Is that 1.2 for that additional 550 feet?
That is correct. That is correct. And then I also want to clarify, as you know, Mr. Evans, this board went ahead and approved the additional $80,000 to Verandas to do additional engineering. That engineering also included the west side. And so the question was, you know, we continue to want the TID, the 80,000 that the Community Improvement Corp gave to them, approximately 80,000. We want to make certain that that money is used for that construction or applied against that construction for Pike Street.
Okay. My concern still, I think we need to focus on the east side, the west side. I don't think there should be any more design in that until we figure out what we're doing here. Because again, the west side, if things are going to be developed on the northern side of Pike,
Right.
I would almost assume that part of that would be street improvements, sidewalks. So why wouldn't we put that cost on the developers and not on all residents? So I don't think we should be doing any more design.
Well,
on the west side.
that was approved as part of the 80,000, and I can't tell you what the breakdown, but that was already included in that 80,000. And in the conversations we've had, it's been made very clear that that's a phase 2, and so you are correct, the focus is on phase 1, which is on the east side. Anything else on that? We also had a walkthrough on the Refugee Road improvements. There is a punch list on that. There's still some things that need to be corrected there. We also got the chain up on Smoke Road where they were using that emergency access, temporary access. So that chain is finally up, but I guess they're waiting on the Knox box, which will hold the key that will unlock that chain in the case that an emergency vehicle has to use that to get back into the development.
Okay, and do you have any update on the resident that had the tire damage? Because nobody's been responding to him regarding that refugee roundabout.
I do not, and I'm disappointed because at that update on the Refugee Road improvements, that was brought to the safety director, and I did hear, I think you sent an email to Mr. Lozier that individual still hasn't been contacted.
No, and he said he even tried today an individual that he was told to contact is on vacation. He's not getting any callbacks. I mean,
Can you send that to me again? Because I'll call Mr. Lozier and say, you know, well, I can go out to the construction trailer too and ask what's going on out there. But I share your same sentiments that was supposed to be taken care of weeks ago.
it was, and the resident is very frustrated. So.
I don't blame him.
And then regarding roads, I sent a request because you're in contact with the prosecutor. There's a dispute regarding whose sign it is. I forget the road.
Yep.
Has that been forwarded? Because I think that needs to be put up, as soon as possible. If it's not us, by somebody else, but ODOT saying that they put the sign up, but we're supposed to maintain it. Our road superintendent says he's never heard of such a thing. The signs are totally different. And if he has to replace it, do they have to be to ODOT standards or is it ours?
What is that sign?
It's just a street sign indicating the street there. It's a dead end, and there was a request by the resident if they can have a lot of jurisdictions, entities have where there's no outlet and like yellow on the sign just to alert people, if that could be added to that. But again, ODOT is saying that it is not theirs, it's our responsibility, but it's on 40, it's in the 40 right away. So
What street is that? Well, you can send it to me later if you don't have it.
yeah, I already,
That's fine.
I sent it to you. Just look
I
through.
did see the photograph. I wasn't quite sure what sign they were talking about. There was a sign there.
Yeah, it was on the western side of the street. It's
Okay. Anything else?
No, you mentioned you didn't get into Skinell, so that's next. I'll wait.
We can go to item B, zoning department, Skinell update. We had a walkthrough of the project. And Mr. Evans, I'll defer to you if you have some comments, and then I'll comment as well. We did walk the entire property, the wall, and go ahead.
I know it was a walkthrough for the county. However, in the comments I'm seeing in the emails, there's no mention of the Waddle property, that there's been ongoing issues with that. I had previously forwarded it to our zoning inspector, who said he would forward it to everybody involved. Nobody was aware of that. So I just want to make sure on the county level that they are going to address not only the items, deficiencies brought up with the drainage against the wall, but also Mr. Waddle's property that's been ongoing for years.
Yeah, we walked an entire property. There's a tremendous amount of grading that needs to be done. There are dead trees on various sides of that property. There's still some drainage problems. We also saw that it appears that the setback on the west side of the wall of the parking lot to the wall was supposed to be 30 feet. It's 24 feet. We have had our zoning consultant, which would be McBride Dale, walk the property as well. They composed a report, which is being forwarded over to Licking County Planning Commission, to the compliance officer. In addition to that, he had reports also from Soil and Water, from the engineer's office as well. And we spoke with him today, and he wants to compile those into a comprehensive report. There still needs to be investigation relative to the size of the wall. It's very obvious some of the wall was 21 foot, up near 40. Other sections behind residential homes were at 10 foot, 7 feet. Plus, once you look at the varying elevations between those backyards and the parking lot of Scannell, that's why you can see the trucks and the lights over the wall, because the wall's not tall enough. Still some questions regarding where the wall was placed. Is it according to the plan? They still don't have the as-built, so I can tell you overall that walkthrough was very revealing, and there are a tremendous amount of issues that still need to be addressed. On the one side, they talked about they were going to move some dirt and put it onto private property, and they were advised from Soil and Water that you possibly need a permit for that, and also you need to make certain that you're not filling in wetlands as well. I can tell you that it's totally unacceptable, the landscaping and the grading and the work that they did on the eastern side, which is the backyards of the properties off of Lynn's Road. And there is talk about that needs to be regraded as well. The lighting is still an issue, and in my opinion, the acoustics need to be verified. Does the sound study give the protection that was originally done by the developer? Is it in compliance, and does it deaden the sound according to what the plan was supposed to be? This has been, and I will add, you know, it's discouraging in that 2 years ago, August 1st of 2022, a subdivision violation was issued against Scannell, and that violation is still open. But in my opinion, it was a good walkthrough, and it was a comprehensive one, but we're still compiling all that information. Anything else?
Yeah, I did have a question. Is Bricker Graydon and McBride Dale doing kind of a forensic investigation as it started regarding the entire process, where the wall is and the sound study and that? You were saying that there's no as-builts, but there are some as-builts. I know Soil and Water wanted new as-builts to verify grading and stuff like that, but I would think there's sufficient as-builts. I haven't seen them, but again, on that walk, there was discussion of them to kind of get started on that. And with that also tying into the Chingle property, has there been any kind of forensic investigation as to what's going on there and any of the violations, lack of permits and stuff?
Well, we've had some preliminary discussions with both the attorney, with the prosecutor and the attorney regarding the Chingle property. Not as much as on Scannell. One of the things is McBride Dale do not do acoustical or photometric studies, so they've looked at some of the other things, and that's one of the reasons we had on here that we're going to have to hire an outside consultant for that. And there's also the question of engineering, possibly have outside engineering look at it in addition to the county engineer and what they've done, so that there can be redundancy there. I did talk to Bricker Graydon today, and our attorney that's been handling that is currently out of the office this week, but we are going to be setting up a meeting in the near future to talk about any legal aspects of that development as well. Anything else?
No, I just had any of the reports regarding Scannell, if I could be copied on them, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll copy all 3 trustees on that. And right now, there's very separate reports, but what the compliance officer for the county said is that he wants to combine those. And then, of course, I think we also want to communicate to the county that we want to do some additional follow-up when it comes to those more specialized concerns. McBride Dale Zoning Commission update. You had some questions, Mr. Evans?
I just wanted to make sure that they're assisting the zoning firm. We spoke about it before. I saw one of the members asked about it because I know they're going through the M1 classifications now. Again, I believe that the board shouldn't have to do the digging into those codes like they have been. It's a heavy lift, and the firm, I think, can be a guiding part of that and answer any questions. And the zoning commission be more of, making the decisions and recommendations based off of that. So I just want to make sure that they are being provided that information, especially, like I said, on the back of the LCPC recommendation on the AB, LB, and GB changes. I think we need to provide them the support so they can do their job.
That's correct. I did attend the zoning commission meeting. We had a very good conversation about that, the assistance that they need. We also talked about the process, the most recent zoning, which we talked about, the LBGB, and the denial, the recommendation to deny that text amendment from the Licking County Planning Commission, which is non-binding. So there was some concern then, well, do we call the hearing or not? So I met with the prosecutor yesterday, and we had a good conversation. Both of the trustees have a copy of her analysis on the zoning process, and so we will be working with them on that. I just found out this afternoon that once that text amendment process is started, because that was the question from the commission, can we stop it if it's a denial? If we have more work to do on that, can we stop the process? And the advice from the prosecutor was no, you need to continue with it. So I talked with the chair today from the zoning commission, and we will be setting a public hearing for that and proceeding through that process, and then they will make a recommendation to the township trustees, and then we can make, as we always do, a decision whether to approve that text amendment, deny it, or modify it. And so once the process, that was the prosecutor's advice, once it starts, you can't stop it. Doesn't mean you have to approve that text amendment, but it has to come all the way to the township trustees. It was also determined there is a little bit of latitude on some of those timelines as it comes through the zoning commission, but less latitude. You got to hit those deadlines on public notices and everything when it comes to the township trustees. One of the other questions that's been posed is as to the question, can one trustee set the meeting in accordance with the revised code 519.12E3? And the advice of the prosecutor, and according to the code, it takes the board shall set that public hearing, which is the reason on the N1 text amendment that we waited a little bit longer because our trustee meeting was a day after the deadline to set the public hearing. So that was a question posed and asked at one of the previous meetings, so now we have that, plus another extensive, I think back from April, Mr. Evans, when you were asking questions about the hearing and zoning process and second hearing as well.
Well, I'd like to get clarification on the prosecutor, so I'll send that.
Well, right here it is.
No, I know, but there was more to the question, but because there are timelines where we have 3 weeks between our meetings, and you can't set it and get the notification time period out to 10 days with the 3 to 5 days that the newspaper requires. And again, my question was, is it required or is it recommended? I believe what she said is it's recommended, but my question is if need be, can we do it? Because again, on that last meeting, just like setting a special meeting, it doesn't require us to, in a meeting, set the special meeting. Those are set outside. So that's just my clarification, but I can handle
Okay,
that.
well, it says right there, shall set, and she put it in bold, so. But if you have a question, then direct it to the board, and I will take that to the prosecutor so that we don't have 3 different trustees contacting the prosecutor's office. We had a very good discussion on that as well, and that is the protocol to follow.
No, I would have liked to have seen the question asked.
It was asked, and I gave her copies of your two of your detailed questions were given to the prosecutor, Mr. Evans. I gave her exactly what you typed out for the agenda. The pond EPA pre-application update, Mr. Evans, you wanted this on the agenda?
Yes, sir. I forwarded all the information to the trustees. Again, one of our zoning commission members initiated this with the EPA, so I appreciate his help with this. After review and the pre-application, it was determined that there is no permit required to maintain the pond, so we can dredge it. The only concern they have is if where we put the material to make sure it's not in any wetlands. Since this has been an ongoing maintenance item, I would like to, for our next meeting, put together a request for proposal for pond maintenance companies to provide estimates to dredge it, because one of the issues with it is there's been so much buildup that's so shallow it gets too warm and that algae takes over. So if you dredge it out, it'll stay cooler. There are also options, later I checked, that if there's any kind of additives to the water, they said there wasn't any concern on their part. However, there's another agency that if we're going to do any kind of additives, we can check with them. I got that information. But again, I'd like to move forward if the board, and I don't think we need a motion, I can just bring it for the next meeting, a request for proposal for maintaining that pond.
Will we be coordinating with EMH&T since they're doing the park?
We can, and that was the other question is regarding where we would put this spoils, and they said that asked if there's been a wetland delineation done, and I wasn't sure. I don't think there has been.
I think you're correct.
And that's one of the concerns I have on the park is I would think that would be one of the first things that's mapped out to kind of see where we can do things, because we've got a lot of easements on that property. We've got a lot of, and if there's more wetlands, I think all that really needs to be done. So I think it would behoove us to coordinate and get that wetland delineation done with this so that we know where we could place that material. And again, if we place it over more than 1 acre, then we'll have to get soil and water involved. But I think the biggest thing was there's no EPA permit required. And they did have some suggestions as I was talking with him of, limit the entries, try not to destroy as much, but there's no requirements. But I would have that in the request for proposal, limited to 1 or 2 sides that we maintain that pond.
Very good. And I believe that delineation I think that issue was raised previously. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Old business, item A, the resolution 2024-0260.
You had the one other, the recommendations for the...
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Make recommendations.
Well, that was my other request, that the zoning commission, what they provided the planning commission was just the deletions and additions that they wanted to make.
Correct.
And they don't really look at all the uses, although they had some questions about, do you want to, do the high level? But when it comes to us, I think we need more information. And if there's any way that, can have a side chart, footnotes stating, we want to remove this use. This is why, even for their discussions, because I think they split up all the stuff. So I think it would help their members too in that discussion. But definitely when it comes to the board, because if we just get a list, we don't know the reasoning why. And I think that would be just a helpful process moving forward.
I think it does, and I did a little bit more investigation. I asked the question, how did the GB, LB, and whatever that other category was
AB.
there? Yeah, AB. What precipitated that being initiated? And I found out it was the previous zoning inspector
Correct.
who brought that to the board. So I'm not
3
sure.
years ago.
So I'm not sure what the history or what the motivation was to do that. But a pivot we have now is now that we have an in-house planning and zoning consultant who has extensive experience, Mr. Schultz. He will be attending those meetings, and he'll be looking to those types of things, text amendments, but also working with the zoning department on applications and also BZA hearings and applications. So I think that'll be a big plus. And Mr. Evans, I agree that I think that'll give the commission the support that they need to do their job effectively.
Right.
Thank you. Sorry, I almost missed that. Full business, this resolution 2024-026, the ODOT reimbursement. Before we get to motion, I still do have a few concerns. I saw some comments from legal counsel on 614. I think there were still some questions, so I don't know if you saw that email from
No.
Mr. Conover.
In what regard? What was his concern? Because as far as my discussion with him is, it is all good. He recommends it. He provided the resolution, the agreement. So that's what I'm concerned. I know you had raised a concern about the work that was submitted under that, but that was submitted to ODOT back previously, and they issued the grant, the funds based on that work, so they approved that. I don't know what questions are outstanding on this, so. Was there something specific from?
Well, it's changed hands, correct?
It changed hands, but it's to be paid to the people that perform the work. It is still the same entity, AHS LLC, that the grant payment would be made to, and that's the ones that the 629 was made. My question was at one point, because it is TPA is the actual company, but they created AHS LLC
Right.
as the developer for this. Can we pay one if if there's a change, but there's been no change. So that's where these documents were drafted with the AHS Etna LLC company.
This was dated 6/14, and he had some concerns, some possible risk. And if you have something more current, then, but
I don't know when.
let me just say, I want to move this forward. I want to get this resolved, but I just want to make sure we're on the, and does the fiscal officer have any questions regarding this, since you'll be doing the PO and the check?
Okay, just for the. Okay, that's the one where the risk was due to the TPA group, that if the TPA was going to name that. But the payment is AHS LLC care of TPA. That's been the reimbursement before, and moving forward. So that was the only thing. I mean, if you had concern, I'd say you'd have to address it with him. I mean, again, I believe we have to disperse this, or we have to return it. Dispersing it reduces the amount that's going to be coming out of the JED to repay. Because again, most of these developments, just like Tollgate and Skinnell, that $1 million to improve that is actually being paid back. That's what a lot of people don't realize. So there's actually a loan with the township. The township's responsible for that. So this grant reduces that amount. Again, it was submitted through our old administrator. They approved it. It's going to the same entity that the 629 funds were going to. I mean, I don't know what more to say.
Are you confident given that email?
I am.
So what was his concern, I guess is my question.
Because originally we were talking about it's going to TPA, but
Right.
it's actually going to AHS LLC.
Right. So was there
Being sent to TPA, but they're gonna, AHS, it's actually going in their account.
and was there subsequent, he confirmed that then? He was fine with that? Again, I don't know.
The last email I had was at 6:14. I did speak with them on the phone. So, but again, if you had questions, I would have hoped that you just asked him directly.
Well, I attempted to, but I've not been able to contact him because he's gone this week. So I'm sorry that's the situation, but I'll ask that we take care of this on 6/18, and I'll definitely. But when I saw that email, I did have a little bit of a pause, given the amount. So I was in contact with law firm today, learned that he's been out this week, and so I will call him this next week and try to get this resolved. I don't disagree with your analysis, Mr. Evans. I just want to make sure that, given the complexity of this, that we make the right decision. I do not support, though, giving the money back to ODOT, though. I agree. I think in principle we need to go ahead and reimburse. It's unfortunate that the paperwork wasn't. So we now have the agreement and the resolution, correct, Mr. Evans?
We do. We don't have a PO, so we would need that too.
Yeah.
And I know previously the fiscal officer had an objection.
Are we good with that now, to get that PO?
If you're good with it.
Okay, so let's get the PO prepared for the next meeting and button this up. I don't have a resolution on to retain professional engineering services to conduct lighting, sound, and testing on the Skinnell site at Tollgate and to assist in the preparation of the MORPC application for additional funding for Pike Street. I would, however, though, at this meeting and then at the subsequent meeting, come back with a contract or a proposal, but I wouldn't make the motion that the board approve up to $5,000 to conduct these types of specialized services needed for the Skinnell site. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second discussion, questions?
Yeah, I do. I have a question, and it leads me back to what the attorney and the zoning firm have done. I think we really need to determine what our recourse is if something doesn't meet what's required. There's no sense in spending $5,000–$10,000 to say, yeah, there's sound, yeah, there's light, if there's no recourse, if there's nothing that we can do, if the past trustees passed it like that. I'm all for taking care of it, but I think there's a logical progression. And again, if there's something as a township, again, there's very limited things that we can control. Has there been errors, or has the zoning firm or the law firm, probably more likely, said, yes, if there's issues, if it doesn't meet those original sound studies because they moved the wall, we can enforce something, or we can make a change, or we can, has there been any of that?
Well, that's going to take a joint meeting, and that's what I just talked to the law firm about, and he said we ought to have that meeting, which we proposed originally, but until you collect the data. So it's difficult to say whether they're in violation of the lighting. They have a photometric study, they have a sound study. So I think scientifically you have to determine that first. And as I stated earlier in the meeting, that our professional zoning firm, they don't do that specialized service. So I have been attempting to find there is a company out there. We still don't have a proposal from them as it relates to the sound, and then also on the lighting side, being able to measure the lighting and finding a firm to do that.
But my question is, if they find we have so much light, we have so much sound, is there authority to act? Because we just removed, the zoning was just changed last year, removing noise, removing light. So my thing is, it's great, we know there's light, we know there's sound, we can document it, it's great to say it's the X, but do we have any standing to make changes, or that they would be in violation based on what our zoning and what our...
Well, that's the question that hasn't been answered yet, and the information has been forwarded to both the attorney and the engineering firm. But that's where you have to have basically a roundtable conversation and say, can we enforce this or can't we, given what our current zoning is?
That's what I'm saying.
But if you don't have the data, if you don't have the, well, that's the question. But attorneys aren't necessarily experts. I mean, you have to measure how much light is it actually encroaching on that property, and is that out of compliance with our zoning resolution?
But that's my question of what can we enforce, because
I don't know.
Again, the last board removed a lot of that.
I understand what you're saying, Mr. Evans, and this is a process,
Because it's kind of like saying, you know, speeding. We could stand out there with the radar gun, pay someone to say, yeah, we have speeders, but we have no authority over that.
So do you want to proceed with the investigation and see what we can and can't enforce, or don't you? Which is it? Because that's what it boils down to. Right. I don't have the answer for you. I'm not an attorney. I don't know.
And that's where the attorneys...
And the attorney has had this information, and that's why there'll be a subsequent follow-up with them and the zoning firm, and hopefully the data that we've already collected, including the walkthroughs, both on the subdivision and both from soil and water, and including soil and water, and including the zoning report that we just got from McBride Dale at the walkthrough, which you attended.
Right, but my concern is that they're being properly directed to find out that information, because that's one of the concerns or requests that they receive clearer direction. And even on the walkthrough is more focus on plants, not height, not...
Well, that's not correct, Mr. Evans.
We had no way to measure the height.
Mr. Evans, that is not correct, Mr. Evans. You mean of the wall? Is that what you're talking about?
Right, we had to rely on somebody else to do a couple measurements here.
Well, you can criticize all you want, but I was there when it was measured by the county engineer, and it was 21 foot at the high point and 10.7 behind the homes of the residences that have been negatively impacted by this. So I don't think we should spend more time arguing about, well, we didn't do this and was this done or not. I walked that entire wall through the poison ivy, weeds and everything. You recorded the videotape. It was well documented, and you're right, it goes beyond just the plantings and the types. And in fact, if you look at the report that recently came from the engineer's office, it talks about the grading on the east side of the wall as it relates, is it going to properly drain over there? And the landscaping is not being maintained. And Linda Nicodemus from Soil and Water, we looked at those little bushes in front of a 20-foot wall. And part of the problem was the landscape problem. I mean, the landscaping plan. The landscaping plan has been, McBride Dale has it, and that's what they based it on when they walked through there, and they made notes on that. And we came back and added to that, which you measured, was the deficiency on the setback from the parking lot to the wall. And that's been included. And I think there's more information that needs to be collected and forwarded to, and now we have our in-house consultant, Mr. Schultz, who's going to take a look at it as well. And he, in fact, he already has in a cursory fashion once we got that report back, and that was last week.
Yeah, regarding the parking lot, I do believe, I think it was 30-foot setback, and I recall that it's from the property line, not the wall, so they might be good with that.
They might
But that's again, that again is where I think our attorney through the zoning firm or now our in-house consultant should look at that. I'm hesitant to throw more money at it without us knowing, because without knowing how we need to enforce it, that would dictate, okay, what information do we need?
I'm fine. If you want to vote the motion down, I don't have a problem. It's just that I thought that we ought to, I'll bring back some firms then with proposals at the, I just wanted to keep this moving, but I'm fine if you want to wait till to the 18th meeting. Be more than happy to try to bring some proposals until the 16th meeting, try to bring some proposals in so that we can, document what's going on there.
Well, I don't think we need proposals. We've got the firms, we've got the authority.
Well,
engage.
I'm just going to tell you right now that the firms do not do the sound and lighting.
But I'm not talking about the stuff, I'm talking about what we can enforce to do a forensic investigation about what's been done, what our zoning is, what that PMUD states, and what we can enforce with lighting and sound, especially in light of the change that was made last year to our zoning. That's all I'm saying.
Well, they
McKee
were under the previous text though, so I don't know if that'll retroactively affect them or not. Do you have anything, Mrs. McKee?
No, no.
It was my understanding that you contacted Licking County, the compliance officer as well?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Sure, absolutely.
And what questions did you
I don't
have?
have any questions.
Oh, but you had questions for them?
Yeah, they answered them.
And
Absolutely.
what were those?
They've already been answered. I'm fine. You guys.
Well, I'm just asking what they were.
You guys already discussed
For our
it. I'm fine.
information, I think he's.
There's no
asking.
other, we're gonna do a report. They're gonna do a complete report from water and soil and the different reports, and he's just gonna forward that whole report to us. So I'm just gonna wait till that whole report comes out.
Very good. And Mr. Evans, I'll be more than happy to ask the law firm regarding the enforcement question.
Okay. Again, with that and the Chingo property, I think that should have already been done, but we need to, that's one of the main focuses of what was done, what can we do?
So roll call on the motion.
Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
No. Motion fails. All right. Zoning resolution update proposal. And that's been tabled, so is there a motion to bring it off the table?
I don't think so at this time.
Hearing none, we'll move on. Insurance discussion, health, dental, vision, life, and employee assistance program.
Yeah, just have an update. We need, there's a few outstanding deductible, ending deductibles from employees, but we've got 2 individuals for the new dental, vision, and life. Everybody's provided them except you, Mr. Burkholder, 1 road crew member. I think you've only signed up for the life.
That is correct.
So we do need that form filled out and submitted. You don't have to submit the other ones, and I'll make sure the road crew individual submits theirs.
Can I ask a question on that?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think you had some. Go ahead.
Did we switch the dental, vision, and life as of July 1st?
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't quite sure.
And EAP and the Employee Assistance Program.
Okay. You should have got those forms. These are some forms that were mailed to us. I filled out mine. Okay.
Yeah, I think Jackie was one of the first ones.
I just didn't know if it actually switched because I talked to one of the ladies today, and she's supposed to call Laura to set that.
So we're switching from, we're not with Anthem, is that correct?
We're with Etna.
We're with Etna now,
Right.
same vision, just different policy. Same Delta Dental, just different policy. And life is, I believe, Met Mutual, same coverage as the 15,000.
Was there a question about having paid Anthem? Was that an automatic payment?
We're automatically paying Etna
Right.
every month.
But was there a payment to Anthem that came out in July or not?
That was in June,
Mm-hmm.
not in June, in May. So the May 1st, it still came out, Anthem, but I didn't see it until at the end. So it came out, she had Anthem set up.
Yeah. So we're okay though.
We're okay.
Okay, good.
That's going to be refunded because it's a different?
No, that was May's invoice.
Oh, okay.
So we pay beginning of May for May, beginning of June. It's not June, it was at the beginning of May.
Okay.
Okay.
So in order to do the bank statement the right way for May, I had to put it.
Okay.
Diligent implementations discussion.
Yeah, I just think we got to kind of move forward with fully getting on the system. I know I saw Ms. McKee finally got her signed in. I know Ms. Burkholder, you still haven't. I don't know if you need us to resend that. But I think if we can fully transition to it, it'll make it a lot easier. And one of the things I wanted to point out, I meant to say during the minutes discussion is we're still doing almost verbatim minutes. And the whole point is we can summarize, we can do it quicker, but as I understand it, the secretary is still listening to the audio for 5-6 hours. We shouldn't have to do that.
Mr. Evans, I've already had a discussion, and I hope you consider a little bit of latitude, because she and I have talked, and well, what's important? What should I put in? What should I not put in? And so we'll definitely work to massage that. But I'd like to remind you that you were the one that always complained about the summarizing, the lack of detail. And I realize
when it was one-sided.
Well, Mr. Evans, we're not going to debate that from the past. But what we're going to do is try to find that happy balance that conveys enough information on what happened at the meeting and not be verbatim.
Correct.
But give us a little time to work with that. Now, regarding diligent, that's correct. I have not signed in, but I also want to let you know that I've talked to people on the BZA and other individuals that are still having problems with Office 365. They're still having problems signing into diligent. So my request is either the consultants for diligent or you, let's work with those other members as well in facilitating and giving them the support and answering questions so that we can get everybody on. This doesn't happen overnight.
Okay, well, this is where it went off the rails, because it wasn't supposed to go to the BZA and the zoning commission. That the secretary is supposed to use it to create the minutes and that, but not give everybody access, because we had the plan of having that training and going through that. The first step was the board of trustees.
Okay.
So, and that's where it kind of went off the rails, and that's where I'm trying to get us back to it.
Okay, well, let's
and
just
then move
let's
into
just work
that.
with that.
But as far as the difficulties with the MS365, those are being addressed. Stephen Smith just had the password resent to him because I think the prior one expired. But again, if we know about that was the one, and I think Mr. Olson
that is correct.
Was having difficulty there. But
that's right. That's what we want to get cleaned up. So let's clean up those things, those little, which happens anytime you make a big transition like that. Let's work on with those individuals that are having a difficulty. This is a tremendous amount of change given everything else we're doing. So I just ask for some patience so that everybody can get up on the system,
right, but
fully utilize it. So.
Right, but one of the things, again, I was working with the secretary of making sure the motions are properly recorded and doing that, but then she's being directed to no, just do this and put it out. So if I'm being taken out of the loop.
You were not taken out of the loop, Mr. Evans. So you can complain all you want, but.
Mr. Burkholder, I definitely was taken out of the loop.
Well, that's your opinion, but let's move on. You stated your
okay. Well, I would recommend that you sign in, get access to it, and then we can start doing it through diligent for all the members, and then roll it out to the other boards.
Well, how did it get out to the other boards?
The secretary.
Well, was she instructed to do that?
No.
Well, I didn't.
That's what I'm.
Well, that's where the communication, so let's work with the secretary to make sure we know what those steps are. We can fix it, there's nothing we can't fix here. But I just want to make you aware of some of the feedback I got regarding that process.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Did you send out the training to everybody for the diligent?
No, because we weren't supposed to roll them out. The training was, I sent it out to the board and you, because that's what we were going to do first, and they had the 2 videos and then the PDFs. And then, like I said, we're going to roll it out to everybody else, because that was the
I wasn't
recommended, instead of just throwing it at everybody.
No, I understand what you're saying.
But the secretary is supposed to use, hey, use it for the agenda and stuff. But if there's questions, I could send it out to everybody if they want to kind of self-help for now.
But we'll focus on the board and let everybody else know that that'll be the second step. So don't worry about it. Is that correct, Mr. Evans?
Yeah, but if they want to take the initiative, because again, the videos and the PDF are very self-explanatory, and it's a really easy system.
Prosecutor's opinion on zoning process.
We already went over that.
I passed that out earlier. I'll make a motion, new business, I'll make a motion to add the trustee signature lines to all township resolutions. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. McKee. Discussion. I know, Mr. Evans, that apparently you decided to take the signatures off. It may be, well, you said that the Ohio Revised Code didn't require it.
I never said that I decided to take them off. Anything we get from the prosecutors without trustee signatures. There's the rezoning over on Cameron Chase that was in 2019.
Right.
Did not have the trustee signature.
That's fine.
Anything from the prosecutor did not have the trustee signature. Did we get into legal opinion if trustee signatures are required on resolutions?
They are not required, but I think it's a best practice. It's a historical document, and I think it's important to have all 3 trustees, even though the votes are recorded on there. I've seen it that way. I've looked at our resolutions here. I just think it's a best practice to have it on there that who were the trustees that signed off on that resolution, and then we looked at it. And that's the reason I made the motion. I know you disagree, that's fine. But I thought I'd bring it to the board, and I've looked at documents. Maybe there's some that don't have the trustees on it. But I've seen a lot of them that are, and I think that's just, I think it goes to transparency, so.
Right, but please don't characterize that I decided to remove them. I did not remove them.
I know you wanted an opinion on it, so I won't argue about it, but any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
No.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes, motion passes. Fiscal officer report.
That's all right, you got it. You know what? I'm still being used on. No, you are. Okay.
Fiscal officer report. Before we get into that, Mr. Evans, you had a question about bill paying and.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that, because I'm seeing more and more of the late bills coming in, and making sure that we're not getting late fees or penalties or anything like that.
The main reason is a lot of it in the beginning with the emails and stuff, it was getting behind. Losing emails, all kinds of stuff with the emails for the first 6 weeks. We are starting to get the emails figured out, so we're getting on track.
Yep.
Well, regarding the emails, I did have a question, because I went in there when I was looking at resetting passwords and that. There were new emails created, invoice.
No license. So
Right, but invoice at,
Invoice
and then
at.
PRR at.
Yes. The invoices for like AP, Columbia Gas, where I can set it up and just have the invoices directly to that invoice, and I don't have to go into my fiscal officer and look at them. PRR, I thought maybe we might want a public records email, so I just had them set it up. Neither one of them have license. They just are like the dummy emails we have.
Right, it's a shared folder in that, but
Shared folder.
I don't know if the IT company can help, but a lot of times you can accomplish that with folders and actually macros
Yeah,
that will
understand.
send it to a folder. And
We tried that, but he didn't get that far, so we still have to get together. So we're working on it.
Yeah, that's some of the stuff that, there's quite a few technical things we still need to get kind of cleaned up. So we're working on that, and that's where the consultant, so I hope we get a lot of that cleaned up because things will move a lot more smoothly.
I do have a cash transfer. I want to
Go ahead.
transfer $10,000 from the regular checking account to the new HRA checking account that we opened for the insurance deductibles.
Is that going to be sufficient?
It's gonna, just for now, it should be, yes.
Because if those are automatic, and if someone,
We haven't used that much yet.
yeah, but I'm saying if someone hits the hospital or something, that charge is going to be, are we
Yeah.
risking an overdraft?
It's just to get it up and running. Either next month, we'll figure it out. Like,
So what's the recommendation? I mean, how do you anticipate that as far
Well,
as
you don't
funding?
anticipate.
Well, the HRA balance is the 2,700 of the HSA 2. It was the 6,350, but now the new policy has a little bit higher out of pocket. So I think that's probably about $4,000 per person that can hit that. And how many members do we have on the, and family members? So it'll go up to a max for a family. I'm just saying if they come through, it might reject it if something happens.
Well, why don't you bring, I'll go ahead and move that we move the $10,000 so that you have that in the reimbursement checking account. Is there a second?
I'll second. We've already had discussion, but I'll second. But there will be a form, you know, that transfer form.
I have it.
Okay. I didn't see it here.
And then at the next meeting, let's bring back some estimates if we need to put more in there so that we are protected and don't overdraw that. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Do you have anything else, Ms. Coutinho?
Just to pass the purchase orders and pass my check.
That'd be resolution, I'll move to pass resolution 2024, what is it?
34.
34 to approve the purchase orders. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion, questions?
Yeah, the anthem, you're saying that was for the May?
Yes.
Okay, and like I said, the AHS one, it wasn't on here. You're anticipating putting it on the next meeting's PO list?
Yes.
The AHS.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Motion passes. Anything else?
Payments.
Payments.
I'll move to ratify the payment of bills as shown.
On the payment listing, is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on that?
I did have a question on Bricker Graydon. It was 16,006 and change. I think the original approval was up to 30,000. Do we know what we're at to date?
I do not.
16,000.
We haven't paid them at all since the beginning of the year.
Right.
They haven't been submitting.
I think they have been submitting.
I thought we've made other payments to them.
I believe we have.
Regular?
Bricker, yeah,
Bricker
Bricker
Graydon.
Graydon.
I'll have to look that one up.
I've seen other payments.
Yeah.
I'm just concerned that, you know,
No. Go ahead and let's run that tomorrow and find out. Check UAN and see where we are on that, because I know they've had stuff come through and I've passed it on. It may have not, some of that might have been prior to you taking office in April 1, but there should be payments.
and then two, can we do a report on McBride Dale, just year to date?
Yeah, it's not much, but yes, let's do that as well so the board knows.
Are we trying, because we only have a PO up to that approved amount, so your
Yeah,
system
send
will
your
notify
report.
you.
By Friday.
Okay, because I think McBride Dale on their invoices has a contract amount and they're keeping
Yes,
track
showing what's remaining on the
also.
contract.
I mean,
That's correct.
it might even be in here.
Yep.
But I don't know if Bricker and Graydon is doing that.
No.
Anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Motion passes. Public comments, now's the time. You have 2 minutes to speak. Please state your name and address, come to the podium and address the board.
John Kennard, 10785 Palmer Road, Pataskala. Just for the lawyer discussion you guys had, I think what you need to do is hire a law firm that says, we don't get paid until you get paid. So, you know, that way, if they go into this deal where it says that you can't enforce what they did wrong or what they did right, you won't have to pay them. So that'd be a work out there. And I just went around the new roundabout on the Parkway. Now the Parkway, that's got a nice sign about it. The entrance to it is 2 lanes to the left and a lane to the right and a lane forward, and it's a great entrance for an industrial park. They put the roundabout in, they put the economy roundabout in. It's 1 lane. For you to make a left turn at the intersection, you gotta go turn right, then you gotta circle around, then you gotta come back, and then you turn left. That doesn't sound practical to me. Now, with all the trucks we got traveling down the Parkway now, I don't know who designed that, but why wouldn't it be a double lane? And if you have any training on using a roundabout, if you're gonna make that left turn, you're supposed to use the inside loop. If you're not gonna use, if you're just gonna go straight, you use the outside or right. But, you know, we can't do that. We just got this economy one. If anybody watched the last super load come through here, you can fact check my data. I'm not, you know, not gonna say it's all accurate, but it was around 280 feet long, the length of a football field. It was 24 feet tall, weighed 960,000 pounds. They had to take the traffic light down out here for them to get through. It took them an hour to get from Palmer Road out here. The trailer had 144 tires. Now you think that thing going around that roundabout? Because that roundabout where the highway, where the road is, that's got some built, you know, built road specs. But once you go up over that curve where they got that nice stamped concrete, I bet you that's not geared for 960 pounds, and it's probably going to get broke down. I know Miss McKee made a comment. They talked about the other roundabout on Main Street, and they put the rocks or something in the inside, and somebody complained about that, why it wasn't grass, and it was said, well, for maintenance wise and to maintain it, that rock was, you know, probably better suited decision. But, you know, I just think that if you go up the Intel project, they've got double lanes up there now, and they put double roads, they put curbs, they put concrete downspout. I mean, they are really building that, you know, with some good specs. I think they're roundabouts, I'm not sure, but I think I can remember they were double wide. In other words, they got 2 lanes. But that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Rachel Zelazny, 10141 Tollgate Road Southwest. I actually want to piggyback off of what Mr. Kennard said. I think we do need to take a look at our infrastructure all around. Like I said beforehand, if we are going to do the sound and light study at Scanell, which if we can enforce it, should be done. It should be done with all the affected neighborhoods, not just Scanell, throughout the township. To your point, there should not be 1-lane roundabouts. I know I've spoke to a few people about this beforehand, but in Dublin, Ohio, they shut all their development down for 2 years and looked at their roads and their infrastructure, took that time to update it to how it should be for the existing use, but also they took that time to look at what they wanted so they could better prepare and have the roads so they're not playing catch up, which I think is where we're wasting a lot of money, a lot of time, and giving a lot of people headaches, instead of just pausing and fixing what's already damaged. That's all.
I'll make one comment on that those specs have been looked at, those roundabouts, and I'm not so sure that the Parkway might have more substantial specs on that, but there is a bond on the Mink Street roundabout. So if in fact you bring up a good point, you bring up a good point as well. If there is damage to that, then the county engineer will have to, and that was one of the concerns going over that stamped concrete. Was it going to be able to sustain? And I think you're probably pretty close on those weights and everything. And I actually physically observed that go through there. So yeah, very big. Thank you. Yes, sir.
John Hanson, Ridgewood Drive. I think everyone knows Mr. Evans is not my favorite, but I would like to agree with him on the Scannell thing. There's no use spending more money, and you're withholding until you know if you can enforce it. Mm-hmm. And so he's very right there, which is unusual for Mr. Evans, but he's very right on that one point. And in the meantime, you're also withholding all these public records requests. None of mine have been fulfilled. You acknowledged the one with a terse that you had sent it over to your attorneys. So are we still going to review all of mine at $250 an hour while none of these are being released? Some of them are pretty simple. How much have you spent on consultants? How much have you spent on attorneys since the first year? That should be something pretty easy to get. There's about 4 or 5 others, I believe, and there was another one sent this weekend, and some of them are simple emails, and some of them have to do with the M1 or the GB and possible interference with the boards. So that's my comment. When will I get some responses? You're not even responding. Insufficient, you're not doing anything.
I understand that. That's a fair question, and I think that'll be forthcoming. One thing is some of those will be easier to fulfill than others, and some of them are possibly too broad.
Well, I understand, the attorney stuff, a lot of that's confidential, but how much you pay them is not. That's public record. So I would like all those records, and also everything that you're spending on consultants. Okay, so you have nobody's helping with records requests, and nothing gets filled, and then he says he has a $60 an hour person sorting boxes or stuff. Well, maybe for $60 an hour she can, fill some public records requests. I mean, you have a number of consultants, and it's a mystery to the townsfolk what they're doing. Okay, I know they're doing your bidding and what you guys want to do, but where's the good for the public? All these $60 an hour, $65 an hour, all those people, those are the same numbers that everybody complained about with my wife working here. So, you won't spend any money on employees. You need to get some employees in here. You've broken the trust of the people. The reason you're having so many public records requests and so many problems is because there's no trust. There's absolutely no trust in Etna of the people of this board. And when you talk to a developer, they'd rather get a boiling plant than try and start a development here. And you and Evans have as much as started ENDZ, the Etna No Development Zone. It's not official, but that's kind of what's going on here. You want to keep Etna rural, have all these things, yet on the other hand, people clamor for restaurants. Everything I said at the zoning meeting. We don't have to go over it again, but it's kind of counterintuitive. If you want all these things that the people want, then you have to develop.
Your time's expired.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Letitia McIntyre, 15 3rd Avenue. Just on the note about the new emails. We discussed this at the last board meeting because some of us were having a problem. I personally am having one where it's fighting with the system I already have. So I'm trying to figure that out, which device I want to put it on, because I have to put it on a separate device, which I have one. But we all decided to try to, I guess, fix our issues no later than mid-August, just for you all to, you know, to know. Because we're going to try to get on board with the rest of the township. But some of us are having some internal problems, so that's what we're trying to fix.
Okay. But as far as the technical stuff, let me know, or let our IT people know. But as far as what systems, I've got 3 different MS accounts, fire district here in my business, and they all work together. So there is a way. They're all on the phone, they're all on the computer. So
Yeah.
it's probably just the setting. And
It's probably lack of knowledge for me, honestly, but I have a designated device I'm going to try it on this time because I had it on my phone and I have a work one on here and it just knocks everything out, even my personal sometimes. So it may be the system I'm using or whatever. That's just one issue, but a couple of them like Dave and Steve, they were having issues even logging in. So I know we're going to try to resolve everything.
Yeah.
And I know we were talking about the training also, and I know it's not available yet, but all of us would like to have that.
Okay, well, I'll send that out. But as far as the devices and stuff, this is what I brought up to at the one meeting, that if you guys need laptops, or if you need, we can't skimp on the support we give you. So if it does fix it by providing laptops aren't that expensive anymore, and that is more efficient, solves the issues. That could be something too we can look at.
To me, that would be a last resort for us. I mean, we all were agreeing on that. We're going to try to use what we have before getting a new device.
And the board would have to vote on it.
Exactly,
Money to buy
right.
those laptops.
But we
Yeah.
can't talk about pennies when we're, I mean,
I
this
know.
is, we're an over
We're
$10
just
million
not asking.
organization, and
That's
we
what
have
I'm
to
saying. Yeah.
run like
Let her
that.
finish.
I'm sorry.
No, thank
We're,
you.
we're
Go
not
ahead.
asking for that. That's
Right.
not why I'm saying anything. We just want to make sure that you know we're working on it on our end to resolve the issue, because we understand we all got to be on the same page. I've done this with my job that I did now. We had a whole system change, and so I've had to deal with this before, and others on the board have too. So we understand the importance of everybody being able to get those documents and everything. So I do understand that. That's why I'm just letting you know
Sure.
we made a deadline for ourselves.
Right.
So that's all I want to say.
Okay, well, if
Thank
anybody
you.
has IT issues, like I said, let me know and copy the IT.
Okay.
Anyone else like to speak at this time?
Ryan Davis, 8807 Watkins Road. Mr. Evans, you mentioned IT issues. I brought up on the social media platform that you like using so much about the desire that you had one time and that we as a community have to have a proper permanent streaming service that we can record more than just this meeting. While I've looked you in the eye and told you I think this is great what you've been doing for the community, however, the zoning commission having issues and all the good work they've been doing, the board I serve on, all the other meetings that happen in this township, unless you're diligent, like some people, to try to attend as many as possible, there's a lot that gets missed. So it would be beneficial to have the access, and I know you're currently working on the website, or at least the website's on the list. I'd like maybe an update, if you could, maybe next meeting or something like that, on how the website's going, because I'd like the website to be able to handle the new streaming service, but to have a professional, permanent streaming service that can be used by any board, any body using this building would be beneficial to bring the community together, because there's some people that will not watch these meetings, but I bet you would watch the park meeting because they'd like to understand what's going on in the park, for example. So there's several things I think would benefit from it. It was something that you were pushing for. I would like, as an IT part of things, I would like you to push and try to have that as a option or as a presentation for the board to consider at a future meeting.
Okay, well, if I could respond on that, I've been dealing with quite a bit in this township. From the beginning, we didn't have an IT company went out of business. I had to go to their door and find that out, get 8, 9 proposals, dealing with healthcare, dealing with roads, I've got a lot on my plate, and the one thing I have asked repeatedly is Miss McKee to step up with the streaming service, because she is the one that brought that service in, pushed it on the board, and won't even try. I tried to work with that convoluted system for a couple weeks, spent an enormous amount of time, and again, Ms. McKee doesn't have any duties outside of the JED and JED-Z, which are quarterly meetings. So again, I would ask Ms. McKee to take that on. Eventually, if she doesn't, or if nobody else does, I'll get to it. But we're still dealing with quite a bit of the transition with the diligent, with everything. So my plate's really full right now. I'm doing what I can, as I have for, I think, 5 years now as a resident. So again, I think it's time for another board member to step up and take that on, especially one that doesn't have any other duties. And if need be, I will get to it, but I don't think it's unfair to try to push that on me when I'm dealing with all these other issues.
Mr. Burkholder, since the trustee addressed me, can I address or reply to that as well?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to give you that latitude, yes.
I didn't point any fingers to the issues going on. I think everybody's well aware of all the things going on. It's something that you made a promise about several years ago and that you were pushing for it. I'm just politely asking for you to follow through on what you promised. So it's not something that I said had to be done by the next meeting. I didn't demand anything. I didn't say that you weren't busy. So you were putting words in my mouth.
It could be done by the next meeting if.
Okay, well, great. Will it be done by the next meeting? You said
again,
it could be.
You want to push it to me, but this is a board.
Well, you were going to push it to another board member, so I actually am bringing
without
this to the
any
board.
other duties.
Do what?
Okay, let's.
Without any other duties.
But that's not fair for you to push it to anybody, whether they had the most duties or any duties. It's a board
Things have been
decision. You
pushed
guys
in.
should work together.
Okay.
I'm just saying that you guys should work together and try to put this on a future agenda to discuss and to try to make this happen for the township, because I think it would benefit everyone that cannot attend every meeting to be able to look back and watch the video, because you yourself at this meeting were discussing how the minutes do not reflect, so the video would reflect. So that would benefit me for when I miss a meeting to make sure I don't miss it.
Correct. And right now we don't have a zoning inspector, and there's a lot of other things we're triaging right now.
Mr. Evans, I'll make a brief comment since you asked a good question as far as the website. We've had one proposal, and it has been tabled by the board, which is fine. But I agree. I think the website absolutely needs to be updated. If my colleagues want to bring other proposals, I think we ought to entertain them. It does have to be kind of folded in with all the other things that we do have. I mean, there's a tremendous amount, including trying to go for $1 million grant. But yeah, that is something that's been talked about this board, and I'm in favor of investing those resources to get an easy system in here. And I do agree that the Zoning Commission, the BZA, the Parks Committee, those ought to be video streamed as well. So I hope that by working together, as you mentioned, that we dedicate not only the resources but the time. But it may take some time with all these other things, but it should be within this year that we make those changes. I will tell you, I did talk to a contractor a number of months ago. I need to revisit that person. They came in and talked about some of the things we do, including upgrading our audio, which is hard to hear at some of our other commission meetings. So, in other words, your point is well taken.
It's 7:30. You want to interview?
Well, we're going to, Mr.
Okay,
Evans.
make sure
We're finishing up here, so. Anyone else at this time? Very good.
Wait a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Bundy, if you state your name and address, please.
Chuck Bundy, 10254 Tollgate Road, Southwest. There was a comprehensive plan open meeting last week, I think it was. And I was really disappointed in the turnout. I bet there were 15, maybe 20 people here. This has to do with the future of this township. And you know, everybody should be involved, more than 15 or 20 people. So that was disappointing. The person who gave the presentations said that they had sent out questionnaires to everybody in the township, and they got 11% back. 11%, I don't know how many people live in this township, but that's a mighty poor showing for what people care about what happens here. So that's all I got to say. Oh, the other thing is, tongue-in-cheek, do you think that the Scannell issues will be addressed and solved before their tax abatement runs out in 15 years and they move away? That's all I have.
Well, we certainly hope so, but I do want to address what you said about the land use plan, because you brought up a good point, and I've actually sat down and responded to some of the criticisms of that meeting, which I think are fair. And I would like to see us have an open house, which would be up to the board to make that decision, but I think we need another swipe at that. And I take seriously the comments, you know, the maps weren't good, you couldn't read them, some of the maps weren't correct, the zoning map was correct on some things that some said wasn't correct, it was. But having a larger map, similar to the open house that Mr. Evans did when he had the nice big picture of Pike Street, the whole thing laid out at an ample side. And I think we need to revisit that and maybe even get the word out on the Pataskala website as well as our website, and hope that people are interested enough to come out. But I think the presentational value and the fact that there were errors in it and you couldn't really, the audience couldn't really see anything on that screen. So I think that does need to be restarted. It might take, you know, add an extra month to it, but I agree with your point.
There needs to be more publicity so people know what's going on.
Right.
A lot of people didn't even know what was going on. So
Yep.
that's it.
So what we might be able to do in addition to the way we put it out there, I know it was on Facebook, I know it was, went out on the listserv to 150 individuals, but maybe we can get work with the news media to maybe get an article on that, and that might help the attendance. So I appreciate that feedback.
We could also use Win Waste at the time to get a mailing out. We've got 2 per contract per year.
So thank you. Anyone else?
Gary, I just want to get this remark. This is the info I promised him on the 62 and older. And
Please give it to the fiscal officer.
okay. And then he was going to have some Ohio Revised Code paperwork for me.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else at this time?
It's a federal program.
I'll move to go into executive session per Ohio Revised Code 121.22G1 to consider the employment. Is there a second?
Employment of a public employee.
Yes, public employee.
I'll second.
Second, and the first person we'll have in will be Mr. Dana McDaniel
Are they
for...
supposed to do a roll call?
Yes, well, let me, I'm finishing mine before we have a roll call. I want to add it that we'll have Dana McDaniel in there with the 3 trustee members. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
And then we will have a second interview after we have an update from Mr. McDaniel. And it is...
But we're just doing one after another, right?
7:24, yes, that is correct.
We need to start the,
That's disgusting.
Go, Mark, tell her what you said.
You both be quiet now, you're out of order.
Stop.
wait,
it.
stop.
Stop right
Tell her what you called me.
Okay.
Okay, I need to start the recording. And I forgot to ask about the Julian group.
You can ask it once we get out of the executive session. I'll wait before the recorder starts.
Mental issues.
Just let me know, Jackie, when you're ready.
Just go turn it off, don't worry. Okay, we're ready.
Very good. I'll wait till you get back to the microphone.
Hi.
Is there a motion to come out of the
I'll make a
executive
motion
session
to
at
come out.
9:08?
Executive session.
Motion by Ms. McKee. Is there
I'll
a
second.
second by Mr. Evans? Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes. Jackie, did you,
Yes.
have
I have
something?
a letter from the audit extension, the state of Ohio auditor, and they have determined that an independent public accounting firm will be contracted to perform engagements related to Etna Township for the biennial fiscal period ending December 23rd and 24th. And they wanted to know, Etna Township, Licking County, and Jillian Group originally entered an audit contract for period January 2015 to December 2018 for 8 consecutive years. They wanted to know if we wanted to use Jillian Group as an outside for our audit for this year. And I'll send this to everybody. But I have to let them know.
How soon? You have to let them know.
This is the first email, so.
What's the pleasure of the board? And let's have
Well,
some conversation here.
Regarding the audit, I think Julian Groove has done it for quite a number of years. I think at least going back 8 or 10. Do you know?
2015.
2015 is
Yeah,
the
they
start?
said that we've used Julian Group since 2015.
Okay, so
I prefer to use them again.
about 9 years. I think it's wise to change up audit groups just to get different perspectives, and especially after such a long period. So my advice would be to possibly change up the audit group.
What would that process entail if we wanted to consider a different group? Do we know? We probably don't know yet. Well, let's find out the deadline, and then we'll bring, is that okay with the board? Bring that back to the board?
Yep.
Mr. Evans, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
What that process would be? Anything else from the fiscal officer?
Nope.
Okay, very good. Trustee announcements and comments?
Yep. Wanted to make a motion for us to have the fireworks in September like we've done for the last couple years. Is there a second to that?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, good, thank you.
What location?
It would be, Mr. Sabatino sent us an email saying that we could use the golf course. That's where it's always been held. I've had several residents reach out for the last month that had asked if we could make sure that we had the fireworks, at least give back to the community. Since we're spending a lot of money on other things, they would like to see that we spend to put together a fireworks like we've done for the last couple years, with along with food trucks and some bounce house for our kids in our community.
Well, I can respond very quickly to that. I'm all for the fireworks, but I will not support a motion to have them at the golf course. Given the correspondence and the way Mr. Sabatino has treated the community, and of course now has indicated he's not going to help with Pike Street. He was upset about the variance that he didn't get on one of his projects in here, so I'm for the fireworks. I don't know that we have a location, but I do not want to be held hostage that, oh, I let you use my facility and now will you do this for me? I don't think that's proper. I've had questions in the past how that took place, and I will be voting no. Mr. Evans, do you have any comments?
I've had concerns before about the location, and with the emails that have come across, and even the email regarding the fireworks was hard to understand. But I think I got across what he was saying. I definitely believe we should look at alternate locations. I don't know what locations that could be. I'd still say the school, but I think there's been discussion that the school's not really up for it. Maybe they've changed their mind. I think it can be done in a good manner. But there probably are other locations we could look at.
Yeah, well, I know you reached out to the school, and the school does not want to allow the township to use their property to hold the fireworks. It's a lot that goes into it. That's already been surveyed, the way it's set up. Fireworks is not just a location you just choose and just make it happen. It's a lot that goes into it, a lot of planning, safety issues. And it's been over there for the last 3 or 4 years. So we were going to continue that over there until we got our park, and then eventually we would move it over to our park. But I wanted to bring it to the board, which I did, and it sounds like you guys aren't interested. And I don't think I would say Mr. Sabatino would hold that against us because things didn't work out on the development of Pike Street or High Point. Those are 2 different things. We're talking fireworks that we've done for the last 3 or 4 years.
No, they're not 2 different things. I've seen the correspondence. I've been to the variance hearings. I know his attitude towards Pike Street. He's communicated that. He's come in here. He's made it very clear. His correspondence regarding maintenance of the green space and Cumberland Trail. Now they are doing something now, but his attitude that, well, that's the HOA, that's not my responsibility. No, he's not been a good community partner, so I will gladly be voting no.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion?
I'd just say there have been issues on that location previously. I've heard quite a bit via parking and other things. I think there probably are better locations. And one of the things we could probably do is reach out to Hamburg and ask them to review the locations in the township and see what's suitable, and then speak to the property owners. But I do think that there's probably more than just one location that we can do this at, and I agree with the being a good partner and a good neighbor in the township, especially with the recent correspondences. I have great concerns.
Very good. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Burkholder?
No.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Motion fails. Any other comments from the trustees or announcements?
Nope.
Trying to think. There's quite a bit. Again, I say streaming. Ms. McKee has the time and the opportunity now. She could handle that now.
I will not be doing it. That's not my job. We had an administrator, so when you hire your administrator can do it. That's not my job as a trustee.
Well, I've got a lot of jobs not as a trustee too. But
on you, Michael.
and then I would agree about the comp plan, Mr. Bundy, that it needs to be advertised more. I was concerned at the zoning commission. I think there were only 5 individuals. I think non-commission members, there was probably another 5 residents here. Possibly, like I said, maybe we could look at the Wind Waste putting out something for the next one at the board. But I definitely, this is about our future. And it's important, and I know a lot of people don't really want to pay attention until there's bulldozer in their backyard, but at least we can do our part and get it out. You know, whether they get here, I don't know. But yeah, we could do a little bit better on that. So that's all I'll say.
Very good. Anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
You stand adjourned. Thank you. Ms. McKee and I seconded it. Thank you. Adjourned.